Hi Year 7, welcome to your second distance learning project. This project is going to be based on a number of tasks that I'd like you to complete over the next couple of weeks. You don't necessarily have to do one task per lesson, you just sort of work through it, making sure that you're ticking them all off and that the end product is ready at the end of the 2 weeks. If you'd like to do notes, you can do this in your books if you have them, or if you don't have your books, some of you might have left them in school, that's absolutely fine. You can do it on paper. Or if you want, you can do a Word document and you can do it that way. It's completely up to you, whatever works best for you. So, first things first, before I tell you what we're going to be looking at, I would like you to go to this link, this video, this advert for Wales, and I would like you to watch it and think about how it convinces the audience to travel to Wales. While you're watching, think about pictures, think about music, think about the words that they're using. How does it persuade you to want to go to Wales on holiday? Now what I suggest you do is pause the video so that you can go and do this and then come back to me then once you've done that. So hopefully you've done that now and you've got a few ideas down. You've noticed the nice scenery that they use, the bright colours, the sort of the nice music in the background. Let's try all these things that they've done to try and convince you to visit Wales. So what you're going to be doing is you are going to be designing a holiday brochure for Wales in the year 1000. So you're going to pretend that you live in Wales in the year 1000 and you are going to design a visitor guide holiday brochure type thing, trying to convince people that they should come on holiday to Wales in the year 1000. So when people are deciding to go on holiday, they do look at brochures, they look at travel guides, they go into travel agents to find out more about things, and they open their guides and their brochures to do that, to get information on where they're going. So you are going to design one for Wales in the year 1000. And when you're designing your own guide, I want you to think about things you'd like to know about a place before visiting, and what kinds of evidence that you think you'd need to design this. So presentation and content are also very, very important. Content in particular, but I will go through that in a second. As no one really wants to read a brief guide, they want something in depth that's going to give them a lot of information. Follow the instructions on the pages that follow and you should be on the right track of getting it right, okay? So just make sure that you read through everything, that you look through everything, so that you're on the right tracks. So first of all, we're going to analyse some evidence. And this evidence is going to help us and inform us about how to create, about what things we want to put into our brochure. But first of all, a quick literacy stop. What does the word analyse mean? Well, if we analyse something, we're looking at what it's telling us. We're inferring meaning. So what kinds of things can we pull out of it? What information can we pull out of a text? And that's what we do when we're analysing. So we're thinking about if the evidence tells us anything about who ruled Wales, what did Wales look like, the language, how did they fight, what did they wear, what were their jobs, what food and drink did they have, and what type of people were they? They're the things I want you to look at and pull out of these next pieces of evidence. Okay, so your task on the sheet that's attached to this PowerPoint is to basically read through the following sources, A to H, and write down what they tell you about Wales in the year 1000. I will help you with the first one, and then we'll go through them all and you can have a go of them yourself, okay? So for instance, evidence A or source A, a map of Wales showing the different kingdoms in 1000 AD. Within each kingdom there was a king who everybody looked up to. The king had to protect his kingdom from attack and in return could be fed and housed in any part of his kingdom for free. The king had officials who helped him run his kingdom. Only free men could be officials. And you can see we've got a map by the side here. So these are the kingdoms that Wales was split up to in the year 1000. You had Gwynedd, which actually still exists today, Powys, which still exists today, Ceredigion, Dyfed, Ystrad, Brychainog, Glynhwysig, Gwent, and Erging. Okay, these are all the kingdoms, and in each of these kingdoms there was a ruler, a king, and he would protect the people in his kingdom. But he was allowed to be fed or housed in any house in any of his kingdom. Now you can see the bigger kingdoms here are Powys and Gwynedd. Okay, so they're the stronger kings, they're the stronger areas of Wales. So if I was going to do that, if I come back to this, if I was going to do that now, I'd say source A tells me that Wales was split up into several kingdoms in the year 1000, which had each of which had a king. I would say that the king protected his kingdom from attack and could be fed and housed anywhere, and that he had officials to help him run his kingdom. They're the points I would pull out that evidence to put into my source sheet there. Okay, so I want you now to go through all of the sources. This PowerPoint is attached, so download the PowerPoint, have a look at all the sources, and I want you to fill in the sheet. The sheet is also attached, by the way. Either you can type it into the sheet yourself, or you can draw it out into your books, or you can draw it onto a piece of paper, whatever works best for you. And I want you to go through all the sources, go through all the evidence, and have a think about what it tells you about Wales. So we've got evidence B, which is about the people. Evidence C, again, which is about the people and how they fight. Evidence D, which looked at their outfits and their attire and what they'd wear. Okay. Evidence E looked at the houses and where they lived and what kinds of places they lived in and what they did for jobs. Evidence F, again, looking at houses. Have a look at that. What does the roof look like? Does it look very big inside? Does it look very luxurious? How do you think they grow their own food? What do they do? That kind of thing. Evidence G looks at the clothing and the food. Evidence H looks again at the people, like the bondsmen and what they do for jobs. And that's all of your sources. So I'd like you to look through them now and go back to your sheet, what it tells me about, a good few sentences in each one, what it tells you about Wales in the year 1000. Okay, so A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. Okay, so what we're going to do now is think about what's in a tourist brochure. So I want you to write some notes down, some bullet points about what type of things you find in a tourist brochure. So if you could pause the video and do that now, that'd be brilliant. So hopefully you've thought about things like pictures, information, prices, things to do, these kinds of things. You probably have a few more than me as well. What kinds of things are in tourist brochures? And what type of writing do we use? Well, we're going to be using persuasive writing. So if you're using persuasive writing, you are trying to persuade someone to do something. So we are trying to persuade someone to come to Wales in the year 1000. So persuade, personal tone, you should be coming here. You will love it here. Why don't you try and do this? Emotive language, you will absolutely love this place. It is fantastic. Rhetorical questions, are you looking for a breakaway? Say again, repeat things over and over again so people know what they're looking at. Undermine opposing arguments. You could go for a nice sun holiday in Spain, but why would you? A is for anecdotes, perhaps get some quotes from people that live there, saying, trying to explain why they should come and stay. D is for direct address. Again, we're saying you need to do this, you should do this. And E is for exaggeration. Welcome to the wonderful world of Wales, using a bit of alliteration there as well. Really over-exaggerating how wonderful it is. Okay, so what I want you to do now is click on this link here, which will take you to a This is Wales brochure, a Dropbox. And what I want you to do is see if you can find examples of persuade, so examples of persuade. Okay, so I've given you an example there. Personal tone, take a waterfront walk. Okay, just one quote for each one from that brochure as an example of persuasive writing for me. Okay, once you've done that, I want you to bullet point what other things you think make a good tourist brochure. For example, pictures. So have a look at the tourist brochure. What makes it nice? What makes it attractive? What makes it convincing? Just put some bullet points down about that as well. So again, I suggest you pause the video because that's probably going to take you quite a while. You can copy this out onto a piece of paper, or you don't have to do it as a table. You can put P and dash, it's totally up to you. Or you can download the PowerPoint and do it on there. Totally up to you, whatever you feel more comfortable doing. But I would suggest that you pause the video and get that done and come back to me when you are done. Okay, so hopefully you've done that now. We're actually going to start thinking now about designing our tourist guide. What are we going to put in it? So you're going to attract people to come to Wales in 1000 AD. One thing I do want to say is we're going to be talking here in the present tense. So come to Wales, you should do this, okay? Not we had this, we have is what I want you to do. I know it's a bit confusing when we're doing this in history, but I want you to make sure that you're talking in the present tense. So here's a checklist of things you should include. So these are going to be your subtitles. And if you want to do really well, you need to include all of these. Okay, so I want the country of Wales. Think about the different kingdoms and the mountains. The people of Wales. What's their language, religion? What work do they do? Their attire. What clothes do they wear? Accommodation. What homes could they stay in? Come and stay in our beautiful thatched roofs. There may be mud on the floor, but you'll never get a better place. The food of Wales. Come and eat our wonderful mouldy bread that's been left on the side for days and days and days. Okay, think about things like that. And then a conclusion. Why overall should people come to Wales? It needs to be colourful, it needs to be easy to read, and where possible, add drawings or pictures. Now, you can do this, totally up to you. You can do it on the computer, you can do it on a sheet. I've had some lovely ones in the past drawn and sort of dyed with a tea bag to make them look really authentic. So it's totally up to you how you do this, okay? Remember though, this is about Wales in the year 1000, not Wales today. You must use the evidence from that first task that we did looking at the sources. You must use those. I don't want you talking about going up Pen y Fan or going to the retail park. That's not what we're looking about. Going to Cardiff, no. They didn't exist during this time. You need to focus on your kingdoms, on your medieval people, what the kinds of things that did they wear. It needs to be historically accurate, okay? So what Wales was like in the year 1000, not what Wales is like today. And then this is a self-assessment. This is a sort of checklist as you're going through, just to think about as you're creating your brochure, okay? Have you been historically accurate and not mentioned anything too modern? Have you used all the information, all those bits of information on the source they give you? I want to see every single piece of information in your brochure and your tourist guide. Have you covered every single one of these headings? Okay, have you covered every single one of these here? Have a clear brochure tour guide format. It's not just on a piece of paper and written out. It looks like a brochure. Have you used pictures and have you hand text as well, a mix of both? Have you written in the present tense, come to wonderful Wales in the year 1000? Have you used persuasive writing? Have you used the kind of techniques that we've talked about? And to really push yourselves and get that those extra marks, have you done your own research? Now, to do your own research, I've given you a couple of websites here that should be helpful. You could even watch episodes 1 and 2 of The Story of Wales. They'd be really helpful as well, and they're on BBC iPlayer. Once you've completed it, I'd like you to do a self-assessment of what went well and even better if. But this should take you a few lessons to do. It needs to be good, it needs to be thorough, it needs to be accurate. So it should take you a few lessons to get through, okay? If you need any help, please ask on the chat when the chat is open. But otherwise, off you go. And I really look forward to seeing some of your brochures. Thank you very much.